Once you have your paper pattern cut out, you're going to start cutting out the wedges. So decide which two colors you want next to each other, and you're going to put right sides together, one on top of the other. You're going to pin it down and then cut around it so that you have your 6, and then you're going to repeat that with your other sets of fabric. So total you have 6 side pieces. Then you need to cut 2 of these pieces out of fabric, whichever color you want to do, and then you need to cut 1 of those. Here's my pattern piece all cut out. You just need to cut out so that you're cutting right along that paper pattern piece. Now what we need to do is we need to transfer these marking dots on all 4 corners of every wedge. So before you take off the pattern paper, you are going to take one of the straight pins and you're going to stab it right through one of those holes. All right, and then that's going to show you where you are going to mark the mark on this side and then on the other side. This is where you're going to start and stop sewing because we need to have a little bit of allowance to put the ends on. So where that pin is where you're going to mark. Right, you can see that on one of my wedges, I have marks at the top and the bottom. You need to do that on each of your sets for the balloon ball. That's where you're going to start sewing and stop. On the split end piece, you also have 2 marks that you need to sew. So there's my marks, and you can see that I stabbed my pins through them, and then I just used a black pen to make the marks so that you could see them. All right, now we're ready to sew our wedges together. All right, we're gonna sew the 3 wedges together first. All right, so you need to start right where that dot is, and then you're gonna stop down here right on this dot. It's a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, so you're just going to follow the edge of the presser foot. Go slow because we are sewing a curve, but make sure you don't sew up into this extra part or the ball doesn't come together when we go to put on the end pieces. We need to have that little bit. So if you look right here in the middle, in that little kind of window of my presser foot, you can see my dot. That's where you need to make sure that you start and stop. So just start sewing, so 2 or 3 stitches, back stitch 2 or 3 stitches, and then just keep following the curve. Again, be careful when you're back stitching that you don't go past that dot. You absolutely need to start and stop there. Okay, just go slow, and you're just going to gently turn your fabric so that you are following the curve. And I'm getting close to my dot. So I'm going to stop right there, back stitch 2 or 3 stitches, and then go forward and make sure I stop right at the dot. Now set this one to the side, get your other 2 pieces of fabric, do the same thing, and then get the final set and sew those 2 together. So you're sewing your 3 sets just one side. All right, you're gonna open up 2 of your sets and make sure that you're putting them together with the right sides together, and you're alternating your colors however you decided to. Mine's gonna have a purple print, a white, a purple print, a white, a purple print, a white. So I need to make sure that when I'm putting my right sides together that I'm matching a print with the white. All right, and then you're gonna sew this set together. So now you'll have a group of 4 wedges. Okay, so here's 4 of my wedges sewn together. Now I'm going to open up the last set, again matching up the white with this kind of scratchy print. And I'm going to sew that side, and then I'm going to sew the other side, and I'll have pretty much the start of my ball. You'll be able to really see it once I get the final set of wedges sewn on. I have all 6 wedges together. Now I'm going to close it off. So this is my last seam, so I'm just going to match up my edges. Again, I'm going to start at the dot and stop at the dot on the other end. Make sure you have your right sides together. All right, now we're going to add the hexagon shape to one of the ends. So the easiest way to do this is to match up from corner to corner one side. All right, so that corner is going to match up, and I'm going to pin it in place, and then I'm going to match up this corner and pin it in place. Here are my 2 pins. This is the ball side, this gingham, and then here is one side of the hexagon. All right, I'm going to sew just across that. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the next wedge and the next wedge and the next wedge. All right, that's why it was important to start and stop at the dots so that we have this little bit of room to sew the hexagon piece on from each side. All right, we're going to look at it from the hexagon side so that you can see. So I sewed the one side, then I'm stopping, I'm pinning the next side of the hexagon to the ball. All right, don't try and do it all in one swoop. You need to do it section by section so that the piece will fit on there. All right, I have all 6 sides sewn. All right, you can see where I started and stopped at each side. All right, go ahead and cut all of these long threads because it's kind of a mess from sewing all of the sides. So cut all the long threads and then we'll do the split piece. What's going to inflate this ball is going to be a balloon. So we need to create a piece where we can insert the balloon and blow it up. So you have your 2 split pieces. All right, and we made 2 dots on there. In between the dot is where we're not going to sew. So you're going to start at this dot, make sure you backstitch and sew to the edge of the fabric. And then you're going to you're starting at this dot and sewing to the edge of the fabric. There shouldn't be any sewing in between there. And if you look at the pattern piece, it actually shows you that those solid lines are where you're going to sew. All right, so we're not sewing in the middle there. Make sure you backstitch at the dots. All right, here's what it looks like after you sew it. Now you're going to go over to the ironing board and we're going to press it open. All right. On the ironing board, lay it flat with the wrong side up, and then you're going to press these flat like this so that it's open. All right, that way we'll have an opening where we can insert the balloon. So just give it a good press. All right, now we're going to go back to the machine and we're going to top stitch around this opening to make it stronger so that if the balloon stretches, it's not going to pull through our stitching. All right, find the opening and then you're just going to, with your white pencil, draw a rectangle around it. You're going to sew right on the rectangle. Make sure you pivot at the corner. So remember, when you pivot, your needle's down as you turn the corner and then come back up. So we're just sewing a box around the opening of the split piece. All right, here's what it will look like when you have it you've sewn on the rectangle. Now you're going to attach it to the opposite end of the ball, the same way we did the other one. Go side to side to side. All right, to turn it right side out, you're just going to kind of slowly and carefully pull it through the hole that we left to put the balloon in. All right, don't try and pull it too fast or it will rip. So just keep working it. If you follow the dots, it will fit through the hole. Right. You can see my ball is turned completely right side out. Now you're just going to insert the balloon through here, blow it up, and then tuck the tail, tie off the balloon and tuck the tail in here. And you are finished.